Hello, you guys. Welcome back to Lily Reads. As you can tell by the title, in today's video, we are going to be reading 4 Black contemporary fiction books. I love reading Black contemporary fiction and I love buying them even more. The problem is I have some that have been sitting on my bookshelf and it's like the time is now. It is Black History Month and I love highlighting Black authors, especially smaller Black authors. You have your big ones who get a lot of press, a lot of people read their books, but I want to read from the authors that a lot of people don't talk about all that much. So I have 4 books that I want to read this week and let's talk about them. The first book that we are going to be reading in this video is The Banned Bookshop of Maggie Banks by Shauna Robinson. I picked this book up at the bookstore last year. Didn't hear a lot of people talk about it, but I am excited to read this one to see what is going on. It seems cute. The next book we are going to read is We Weren't Looking to Be Found by Stephanie Kuhn. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but this book has been sitting on my bookshelf for a little minute and I love the cover. I really, really do. So we're going to see what this book is about. The next book we're going to read is actually a more popular one, and it is The Davenports by Crystal Marquise. This is a series, I think. I don't know much about it, but we're going to read this book in this video. I got it on discount last year, and I'm just like, this is the time. This just feels like the perfect video to put it in. And the last book we're going to read is by Layla Sabrine. It is called You Truly Assumed. Look how beautiful this cover is. Look at this cover. I am so excited to read these books, to give you some recommendations. Hopefully you watch this video and you're like, I want to read that. I want to read that. That's the whole point of all of this. So anyways, let's get on into the video. Hello, you guys. I am officially ready to start reading for this video. We are going to start with The Banned Bookshop of Maggie Banks. It is blurred by Abby Jimenez. I have not read any Abby Jimenez books, but I plan on changing that this year actually. But it is by Shauna Robinson. And yeah, I have no clue what this book is about, and I haven't heard anybody talk about this book, but I saw it on a table at Barnes & Noble and I got my hands on it. So I'm about to sit on my new beautiful couch and I am about to get reading. I'm going to do some sprints. I'm going to try to read for like an hour, 2 hours. So the next time I talk to you, I should actually be like really like through with this book. So like, yeah, let's go. Let's get into it. I am here for our first reading update. So I did my hour-and-a-half sprint and I was able to make it to the halfway point of this book. So we are moving and shaking and I think I can finish this book today. So let me tell you what this book is about. In this book, we are following a character named Maggie, and she is kind of lost in life. She's about 30 years old, and she's never really had a stable job. Well, she gets a call from her college friend, and her college friend says that she is going on maternity leave, and she needs someone to take over her bookstore while she is away. Because our main character has nothing to do, she's just like, yeah, I'll move in with you guys. I'll run the bookstore for a few months. When she gets to this town, she notices that this town is really weird. The town is called Bell River, and it's named after this like famous author who died in 1968. And the bookstore that her friend works at and partly owns is owned by that famous author, his family. They own a majority stake in the bookstore, which means they make all the rules. And a rule for this bookstore is only books published before Edward Bell died can be sold at this bookstore. The issue is most people do come into the bookstore to buy Edward Bell's books because he's really famous, but they don't buy anything else. Nobody just wants to buy a bunch of classic books, old books. So like the books really don't sell. Well, that's an issue because one day Maggie is working at the bookstore by herself and she does something she's not supposed to do. She started looking into the personal life of this Edward Bell guy and that got the family upset. So they decided to move all of the books out of the bookstore and move them to a museum. So now there's no one buying any books. No one buys any books because they were only buying this guy's books to begin with. And that's an issue because her best friend partly owns this bookstore. They have a baby on the way and she has confessed that they're having money issues. So she's just like, I need to get people into this bookstore. And this starts Maggie on her banned Bookshop because she has decided she is going to sell under the table newer releases, romance, thriller, fantasy books that people actually want to read instead of these old books. So that is pretty much what's going on in this book. We are on 5-star alert. Who would have thought? I have not had a 5-star in so long. I forgot I could read books and enjoy books this much. We are on a 5-star alert. Everything about this book is working. I read Love in Winter Wonderland last month and it was about saving a bookstore, but it really wasn't about saving a bookstore. This is a book about saving a bookstore. But also Maggie doesn't love books. Maggie doesn't really read that many books. And so you're getting this like outside perspective into the book world that really takes the reader along. Like I just feel like everything is done intentionally. There's details and it's witty, it's funny. The main character is doing things you as the reader wouldn't think about, and it's talking about books without being pretentious, without being too self-indulgent, because oftentimes I actually do not love books about books. Do you guys remember the Wedding People video? I said I have a really big issue with the way people portray book lovers in books. They kind of make them like dweebish and weird, which there are dweebish and weird book lovers, but I just think they draw everyone with a really broad stroke, and so it just becomes a little silly. But this book is doing it well. There's also a romance element in this book that is also being done really well. It's cute, and I feel like this book isn't forcing anything. The way that the author gets it, the way that the main character gets into the story feels like you're taken on that journey. The way the romance is happening, you're taken into the journey. The conflict is all baked in. The story is just like really well done. And now I feel so much better about not giving certain book high ratings that a lot of you guys like, because I know when a book is done well. I know when an author is doing something well, where nothing is forced. Nothing is like, so this character has to do this to keep the story going. Everything is blended well. You can tell that the author had an outline. They through their outline and they were able to have the characters make intentional decisions that led to certain moments happening in the book, so everything doesn't seem forced. And that's this book. So I am so excited to finish this book because I am enjoying everything about this. Also, it's a Black romance book. I kind of regret not putting this in the book club. I didn't know if it was a romance book, and then I didn't know if it was a Black romance book. But yeah, Art 2, we have Malcolm and Maggie. They're both Black, and it's just working. Also, this book is talking about like banned books like what's considered a classic, Black authors not being in bookstores. So this is also a really good Black History Month book. Like I said, you're getting the outside perspective, you know, because Maggie doesn't like books. You're getting like an insight into what's going on in the book world that doesn't feel, like I said, self-indulgent or pretentious. It's more so just explaining, you know, Maggie's trying to learn stuff, so you as the reader are trying to learn stuff. I'm enjoying this. I'm going to finish this, but first I have to eat lunch. I'll talk to you guys later though. Peace. Hello, you guys. If you hear what sounds like a fan in the back, it's an air fryer. I want to come and give final updates on the band Bookshop. I was able to read this entire book in one day. I finished it last night, and I'm going to go ahead and give this book 4.75 out of 5 stars. The reason why I'm not going to give it the full 5 is because it wouldn't surprise me if this book doesn't show back up in like my best of the year. And I want my 5 stars to really just be my best books of the year, you know? And so I don't know if I'm gonna go as far as to say that. I think because I have read a lot of contemporary books recently, contemporary fiction, and I haven't really been enjoying them. I don't think they're thoughtful. I don't think they're well put together. I don't think they're well written, well plotted, and many other things. Reading a book that I just think was crafted perfectly was just really shocking to me, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed this book a lot, and I think you should get your hands on it. Everything ended well, and you want to know, I think the best thing about this book was the payoff. So like, everything was earned. The tension was earned. The love interest was earned. Everything was earned. Like everything, like I said, was perfectly plotted. It didn't feel like mess for the sake of mess, tension for the sake of tension, miscommunication for the sake of miscommunication. Everything just felt like a real story, and I enjoyed it. So yeah, great book in my opinion. So we are going to move on to Stephanie Kuhn. We Weren't Looking to Be Found. Before I got out of bed this morning, I was able to read about 20 pages of this. Only 20 pages, so no astute observations yet. But I would also like to read this book today fully, so we will see. But I'm going to eat my breakfast, and I'm going to talk to you guys when I sit down to do some reading sprints with this one, okay? Guys, I have been sitting here. I have read for an hour and a half, and you would be surprised. I have made it to the 200 page mark of this book, so we're actually in the home stretch, probably only about an hour more of reading. I will finish this. So let me tell you what this book is about, and maybe show you the cover so you can actually see the book. We Weren't Looking to Be Found. In this book, we start off and we are following these two girls. We know that they have tried to escape some facility, and they have gotten caught and are back at the facility and have to do some type of punishment. We don't really know what the hell they're talking about, but we know that has happened, and we are in the middle of them having to clean out this shed. When they're going to clean out this shed, they find some items from other people who have stayed at this place, and this kind of starts them telling us their story. So we get POVs from Danny and Camilla. We start with Danny. Danny is from a very affluent family in Texas. Her mom is like a politician and her dad does something else, and she just feels really controlled by her family. She has a white boyfriend who really ain't no good anyways, but she has a white boyfriend, and they don't like that because they want her to be with a black guy to, you know, keep up the black excellence facade. And she also just doesn't care anything about like high society or being presented as like a good black family. And her biggest issue is that she is a drug addict. She does all of the drugs. There ain't a drug that she does not do. And one day her family is having a party at her house, and she is on every drug imaginable, and she ends up making a fool of herself. People take videos. It goes out everywhere, and it gets across town that this politician's daughter is off the deep end. So they decide they are going to send her to a facility. But before she can go to the facility, she decides to run away. When she runs away, she ends up getting caught, and her aunt takes her to a facility in Georgia. Then we go to Camilla's storyline. Camilla is dealing with more like mental issues. She self-harms, and she really just wants to get out of her small town. Her parents don't really pay too much attention to her. Her parents kind of have their own dreams, and they're not like neglectful, but they just really don't care about her. Well, one day, she sends in her third application to this dance school in New Jersey. She applied 2 times before. This is her third time applying. And she gets back a confirmation that she can go to this school. It's like, congratulations, you can go to this school. So she runs to her dad and she tells her dad, like, hey, I know I didn't tell you guys I was applying again, but I got into this school that I really, really wanted to go to. And the dad looks at her and it's just like, you know the renovations we just did on the house? Yeah, that was your college money. We thought because you got denied 2 times before, you just weren't gonna go. So we spent your college money on these renovations. That makes our girl, Camilla, be like, I don't want to live anymore. So she commits suicide, and that's what gets, she tries to commit suicide. She attempts suicide. And that gets her sent to the facility because she was not successful. And that's how Danny and Camilla end up at this facility. And you are just following them at this facility, getting to know all of their troubles. This book is really easy to read. And it's interesting enough. It keeps going. I will say when you get towards the middle, you're just like, okay, I'm reading. It's one of those books where it's I'm reading, but there's nothing really like all that amazing about it. It's not like blowing you away. I do think maybe if you were younger and you were someone who dealt with the issues that these 2 characters are dealing with, you would be more into it. But this is a very quick book, so you don't really get too deep into the lives of Danny and Camilla or their psyche to really, I think, feel connected to the characters all that much. But that doesn't change that I want to know what's going to happen to these characters, and I want these characters to build a connection. I think because this is obviously a young adult book and I am older, I'm like reading this book being like, no, you should do this, no, you should do that. So I'm more reading it as more of like an auntie to these girls, you know? And so it's a perfectly enjoyable reading experience. I don't really have much issue with the writing. I think this is leading up to be like a 3.5 book, definitely more than a 3. I wouldn't put it at the 3, especially I'm thinking about the books I've given 3s earlier in the month. No, this is better than that, and this book has a message and something that it's trying to say. And so I'm enjoying that aspect of it. And I think books like this need to exist. We need to get more books like this and books like that. These are important. I will say though, I said I had no issue with the writing, and I do have an issue with something though with the writing. So this book does this thing where like there'll be a conflict or an issue in the book, and it'll happen at the end of a chapter. And instead of us like staying in that world of where this conflict lies, we just go to the next chapter and we get the aftermath. We get the aftermath of the interaction or the conflict instead of like actually reading what these 2 characters say to each other, what actually happens. That happens all of the time. So any of the actual like conflict or problems happen like off page. And I do think it kind of keeps you at arm's length of the story, you know? It would be a deeper and a more thoughtful story if we got those moments of dialogue. It's definitely a stylistic choice. It would work for some people. It doesn't really work for me. So that's why I would have to put it down to, once I finish this book, probably a 3.5 instead of that 4. Because if it really packed that punch, I think I could be there for it. Anyways, I am going to finish this book. But I have my weekly date night tonight, so you know what that means. The lemons are going to drop and the oysters will be shucked. So therefore, I will see you guys at the restaurant. And then probably tomorrow morning, I will come and give final thoughts on this book, and we will move on to the next book, okay? Hello, you guys. I am about to work out, but I did want to come and give my final thoughts on We Weren't Looking to Be Found by Stephanie Kuhn. I'm going to go ahead and give this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. Rarely do I read a young adult book and think like, oh, Kenya, this book wasn't written for you. Like, you are too old to really like appreciate this book. But this is one of those books where like I am just aged out of this book like heavily affecting me, but I do think that has nothing to do with the writing or what's going on in the book or how the book is like how the book is plotted. It is just simply because I'm a hag that like if this book is going to go down the route went down, it would have to be a little bit more. Or if it was going to just be a young adult book that I really appreciate, it would have to be a little bit more playful. But this book would resonate with people around this age range, people younger than me, people who are in that young adult genre range or category range. But I am simply not that. But I appreciated what this book was trying to do. I thought this book was well written enough, and I would definitely read more from this author. And this is definitely a book I would recommend to people who are teenagers, definitely young Black girls. I would recommend this book too. I think books like these are important, and I'm really happy that I was able to read this book and to get my hands on this book because I haven't heard anyone talk about this book, but this book has a really good message, and you know, it's exploring Black characters that we rarely get to see in Black books, you know, and so I really appreciated that part of the book. And so we have to move on to the next one. So 3.5 on this one, but 3.5 more so because I'm aged out. It's almost to the point where I don't think I could give this book a true honest rating. I think you would have to ask someone who is between the ages of 14 and 20 like what they think of this book, because they would have a better understanding, or this book is more geared towards them and it's not geared towards me. Anyways, the next book we are going to move on to is The Davenports by Crystal Marquise. This book has had its day. When this book came out, it got a lot of press. It got a lot of like push from its publisher that people should read this, but I've never been spoiled for this book. I see some of you guys log this book on Goodreads, but the reason why I got my hands on it is because I got it at the discount section for $6, and it's a book that like has always been on my radar, but like I never personally had a copy. Well, now I not only have a copy, but I am going to read this. Now, we have been able to read a book every single day for the past 2 days. Past 2 days, I've started and completed both of the last 2 books. Well, that ends today. I will not be able to read all of the Davenports today. Number one, this book is a little bit longer. Only a little bit longer than the other ones, but also today is a full filming day for me. I have to film. So therefore, I will be spending most of the day like getting ready to film, filming the videos. Hopefully at one of them I have to edit and upload it today. So these days are just a full like get everything done type of day. So there is not going to be time for me to sit on my new pretty couch and read, but I wish there was. But I will read some of this. I will get a good chunk of the way through with this book because I can read at least like half maybe today. So anyways, I'm gonna go work out, and then I'm gonna eat breakfast, and then I'm gonna start filming. And then once I'm filming, that's the thing, I have to get started filming at the very beginning of the day, like after I work out and eat breakfast, or like I'll let it linger and then I'll come up with excuses for why I should just be able to do it tomorrow. I'll just be able to do it tomorrow. So like, no, I have to get started immediately. So the Davenports is gonna get pushed way, way later, but I still will come and give initial thoughts. Hello, you guys. I am here to come and give my first thoughts on the Davenports. I have finished my filming for today, and so I can come and talk about the Davenports. So, in this book, we are in 1910, so we are post slavery, but entering Jim Crow. Like, it's real nasty for black people around these times. But we are in Chicago, so we are up north, and we are following a black family called the Davenports. The Davenports have made their money like with carriages, so like carriages that carry people around. That's how they have made their money. Now there is a little bit of a change because the automobile has hit the scene, and so they're wondering, will they still be able to make their money with cars, becoming the future? So we are following four people in this story. We have Olivia. Olivia is the oldest sister in the Davenport family. She is the one expected to go like find a husband that they can connect their name to. She has a brother. The brother is the one who's going to take on the family. So this business is going to be John. John's the brother. He's going to have like the business because he's the boy, right? But she needs to find a husband who is going to, who she's going to be able to attach the Davenport name to make them even stronger. Then we have Helena, what's her name? Helen, she is the younger sister, and Helen doesn't really want to do the courts and the corsets and the find a husband and all of that. That's not really her thing. She wants to be a mechanic. And she wants to work on cars. But the thing is, her family doesn't want that for her because they want her to be a lady. So she's dealing with that, being kind of the, oddball of the family. Now we have a maid to the Davenport. So everyone isn't in the Davenport family. We have a maid. Her name is Amy Rose. Amy Rose has been in the Davenport family for a while, being a maid. She is very close with the Davenport kids, but now, they're starting to get out of the house. They're going to be finding husbands, and it's time for her to find a husband as well. Like, she can't just spend her whole life being a maid unless she wants to, right? And that's not something she wants to do. So she has her own aspirations, and she also has like family things going on because like she spent her entire life basically being a maid for these other people. And last, we have someone named Ruby. Ruby has her own family. Ruby is not part of the Davenport family, but she deeply wants to marry into the Davenport family. She is the daughter of a person who wants to be mayor. Does he want to be mayor? Her daddy is a politician. And they are going broke. They're going broke because he is spending all of their money on trying to become a politician. So she needs to marry into the Davenport family through John, the brother. So she can save her family. But like, is that truly what she wants to do? Who knows? And she's also best friends with Olivia, the oldest Davenport sister. And those are the people we are following. So you're following them. They all have their own wants, their own needs, their own desires, and they're all looking for love. Everybody has a love interest in this book. What do I feel about this book? This book is kind of like American Royal, and you guys know I love American Royal. Kind of just being in this world where things are a little bit different, this black affluent family in 1910. Now, there were black affluent families back then, but they were far and few in between. And so you're just following them in this world where, like, racism is there, but it ain't the worst thing. It's just a fictional world. And I like this book well enough. It's easy to read, but I will say I'm missing, like, the conflict. Like, everything is kind of, like, too easy in this book. So when you think about a book like American Royal, there was like deceit, there were lies, there were like people playing tricks and games in order to get higher and higher and higher. And this book has all the setup for that. There's people who like the same boys, families trying to marry into this family. There's things that could set that up. But I don't feel like it's really like going there. Like, number one, every character is a positive character. Every character kind of has pure intentions. Like, you still have the Ruby character who's trying to marry into the Davenport family, but her intentions aren't that bad. Like, I feel like this book needs like a character that's just kind of a little like they're up to no good. They want to bring the Davenports down, something like that. Or like, so, I don't know. I just feel like the book needs a little bit more scandal. It needs a little bit more intrigue. It's easy to read, but it's easy to read in the way of just like, okay, I hope everything works out well with every single character, but it's just not like salivating. Like, I just need to go. I need to know what's going to happen next. I need to get in the world of these characters. You kind of feel like almost you're left at a distance with these characters. Like, you get to know them enough, like all the things I just described about those characters, but like, I don't know any more about them than those moments, though. Like, those moments, like what I just told you, it's kind of how they already are at the halfway point, and it's just like, okay, you know, so I just want a little bit more when it comes to this book. Like, it's fine, it's enjoyable. Like, right now we're looking at a 3-star read, but to get me to want to read the next book, if there's a next book, I still haven't looked to see if this is part of a series, but I think it is. I'll see. It's gonna have to give me a little bit more. It needs to go down that American royal path where, like, because things are already a little bit ridiculous, like, let's really get ridiculous, you know? Let's really get all over the place, and it's not really doing that. And then there's these romance aspects that also aren't that romantic. It's not so like, ooh, swoony, you know? I know this is trying to be like maybe like a Bridgerton type of thing, something like that, and it's just like, it just needs a little bit more depth for me. But anyways, I am going to keep reading, and I will come with my final thoughts, okay? Hello, you guys. It's been a long time since I wore book club merch. Link down below. I have finished the Davenports, and this book was like fine to me. Like, it was the perfect like fine to me. There was no point in this book that I was like heavily into it. I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 stars. I just don't think this book was like as deep as it wanted to be, because the entire book has a very melancholy tone. There's not very many moments of just like happiness and bliss, so much so that the book kind of ends with everyone's life being horrible. And so I guess there's a next book of everyone trying to fix their life. So you spend the entire book like trying to get these couples together, trying to see if these people will realize their destiny. You have Olivia, who wants to be a civil rights leader or part of the movement. You have Amy Rose, who wants to be a hairstylist. You have Ruby, who wants to get her family out of poverty, and you have Helen, who wants to be a mechanic and all this stuff. And nothing good happens to any of these people. None of these people's dreams come true, and it's just like, well, I guess all's bad that ends bad. And so it wasn't as upbeat and happy like I thought this book would be, but my expectations shouldn't factor into how I feel about a book. I should just take the book as it is, and as it is, it was just like, okay. I mean, I don't see this being a 5-star read for anybody, but I could see people reading this and being like, you know, they had a good time with it. I personally was kind of bored most of it. I actually think I'm low-key entering a reading slump. I've already started reading our next book that we're going to read, which I'll talk to you guys about in the next clip. And I think I'm entering a reading slump a little bit. Like, I think I need this month to end, and maybe I need to take like a week off of reading, or I don't know. I'm happy we got like almost a 5-star read in this book, so it can't be a quality thing. And this wasn't bad by any means. I just didn't love it the way that I thought going into it. I would really love it. Will I be reading the next book in the series? If I got it on discount, sure. But I'm not like going out of my way for it. If it falls into my lap, it does. But so at this current moment, the answer is no. No, I won't be continuing in the series. Not because like I would just never read the next book. It's just, you guys know I'm already not a series person. And the first book of a series has to be really good to me for me to want to continue in a series. So yeah, there's that. Anyways, I finished this last night. And so this morning, I have spent all morning organizing. A lot of people do spring cleaning. For some reason, I do my best cleaning right before spring. I have just been going through closets and cabinets in my house and just throwing stuff away, things that I have not touched in forever, things that are not serving me. So that's what I spent this morning doing. So I'm actually kind of tired. I kind of want to make another coffee. I rarely do 2 coffees in a day, but it's feeling like I should do 2 coffees in a day. Anyways, I'm about to eat lunch though, and I will talk to you guys about You Truly Assumed, which is the last book we are going to read in this video. So yeah, peace. Hello, you guys. It is not a Kenya vlog if the emotional support smoothie does not come out. I'm about to sit down and start reading our last book of the video. And I was just like, I need to make an emotional support smoothie. And that's what I'm going to do. It's a little later than I usually make my emotional support smoothie, but it's fine. I have these bananas that are going really bad. So they actually aren't going that bad. They're actually like perfectly ripe. For people who like to eat really ripe bananas, I don't. I actually like my bananas that I eat to be not as ripe. Do I want to do one banana or two bananas? Maybe I'll do a banana and a half. So yeah, what I put in these smoothies, my emotional support smoothie, it's rather simple. It's a strawberry banana smoothie. I put strawberry, I put banana, I put some vanilla, then whatever juice I have on hand, which usually is apple juice. I don't drink juice, so whatever juice is in the house is what I'll use. Right now I have like a lemonade that's in the house, so I'll use lemonade today. And then I put some frozen yogurt. I buy frozen yogurt in a tub, and I put frozen yogurt in there, and that is literally all that I put inside of it. And ice, and that's the smoothie. So yeah, that's what's inside my emotional support smoothie. Really quite basic, quite simple. Definitely not all that good for you, but it works. That's what I do. Then, after I finish mixing up the smoothie, I put them in this plastic cup. I know you shouldn't use plastic cups, but the thing is, my man accidentally got 100 of these plastic cups with straws delivered to our home, and if I just threw them in the trash, that would be like useless. It's still plastic going in the trash. So like I have to use them for something. I don't like to use them with my coffee because like the condensation is just kind of like annoying. I guess maybe I should use it with my coffee. I just don't think about it. But I put my smoothies in them because it's just like, hell, why the hell not? So yeah, I'm trying to use up these plastic cups because there's no other reason to have them. And so that's why I use these plastic cups, because I have 100 of them. Like, he doesn't even use, that's what's so funny. Like, he doesn't use any of them. And because they weren't where he was looking for, he thought he purchased something else. But no, he just purchased a bunch of these plastic cups. And so then I just, hold up. I pop the lid on and I sit down with my smoothie. So I'm gonna surf the web for a little bit before I read, and then I'm gonna get into reading. And it's really that simple. That is literally all that is inside of this smoothie. The lemonade, whatever juice you put in it really has no real effect on it. I just put juice in it. Some people just put water in theirs to get it to like not be so chunky. I use a juice because I'm gonna get as much flavor as I can, but you really can't, whatever juice you put in, you really can't taste anyway, so it really doesn't matter. So that's my emotional support smoothie. Hello, you guys. It is the last day of the vlog, and I need to come and give you some initial thoughts on You Truly Assume by Layla Sabrine. So in this book, we are following 3 girls. I'm going to tell you about our 3 girls and what they have going on. The first girl you have is Sabria. Sabria kind of starts off our entire story. That is my air fryer. I am making hash browns for breakfast. Okay, so our first girl is Sabria. Sabria lives in Washington, D.C., and she is a ballerina. The story starts off with her rehearsing, doing her ballet thing. Well, she gets a call, or she sees on the news that there has been a terrorist attack. Somebody blew up a metro station in DC, and that sends everyone into a frenzy. And Sabria is a little beside herself because she knows what's going to happen from this moment. She is a Black Muslim and she knows all the Islamophobia that goes running around once there is a terrorist attack. So she is just like, this is about to be bad. So Sabria starts us off in her story because she is in DC. Then you have Zakat. Zakat lives in Georgia. And her life is actually pretty okay. She lives in like this Muslim community. She has a community of Muslims who, you know, she's able to find safety in and all of this stuff. She is headed off to college next year and she wants to go kind of far for college, but her parents want her to like go to maybe Spelman, go to a school in Georgia to stay close, but she wants to spread her wings because she hasn't really dealt with a lot of the Islamophobia and all of that stuff because of the community that she stays in. Well, one day she is working at her friend's bookstore, and because of the terrorist attack that happened in DC, it ends up getting vandalized, and this kind of opens her eyes to the world that how Muslims are treated and stuff like that. And so then you have Farah. Farah lives in California, I think, and Farah lives with her mom. Her mom is a single mother. She has a father. Her father lives in Massachusetts, but her father was never around. Well, all of that is changing because her father wants her to come and stay in Massachusetts with him for a little while. She's also dealing with Islamophobia things going on back where she is. She also has a boyfriend who she knows after this year she's heading off to college and he's heading off to college. They won't really be able to be together. So that's what they have going on. So the thing that like pulls all these three girls together is this blog. Sabria starts a blog called You Truly Assumed, where she talks about, you know, all the things that she has to deal with being a Black Muslim. And that makes our other two Black Muslim girls kind of like look at the blog. And now they're all kind of doing this blog together. That's the story. We're following these three Black Muslims. So first things first, I love the representation of Black Muslims. I do think when it comes to literature, we do not get a lot of contemporary fiction about Black Muslims in America. So I'm loving that. I'm loving filling that void that is there in the literature space. But when it comes to this story, I feel like this story has a bunch of false starts. Like, I'm waiting for the story to begin. Like, we're getting the backstory on these girls' lives. We get the story on the blog. But, like, when is it actually going to start moving? I feel like this book is, like, really, really repetitive. Like, we keep seeing the same thing over. Okay, Islamophobia is bad. Islamophobia is bad. Islamophobia is bad. And it's like, when is the story going to begin? I feel like the book is telling us things, but there's no actual action happening in the story. You're just in these characters' heads as they're having horrible thoughts, and it's just like, can we move? So like for example, our character Farah, she wants, like, she's gonna go live with her dad, and you're just like waiting for her to go live with her dad. I'm halfway through the book and she ain't started living with her dad yet. You have Sabria, she wants to do all this stuff for ballet and all of this stuff. It's just like, when is that gonna happen? And then as I'm reading the blurb, I see that Zakat, the bookstore got vandalized. That's literally in the description, but it literally just happened in the book. Like, literally where I am in the book is literally when the thing got vandalized. So it took 150 pages for something that happened in the synopsis to even happen in the book. And so the book just moves at a snail's pace, and I gotta be honest with you, it makes it quite boring. I think that's the best way to describe my reading experience right now. Like, I am truly bored. Like, it takes a lot for me to read like 10 pages. I'm not going to lie. And that's not how I want to feel. I want to love this book, you know? And it's just like, when is something going to happen? When is something going to happen? When is this book going to move forward? Like, even them all coming together to work on the blog, it's just like, that took so, like, every little moment in this book feels like you're pulling teeth to get them to happen. So I appreciate this book. It's nice to read from these types of characters, but like, I'm going to need some pep in the step. Anyways, I am going to finish this book, though. I am going to finish this book, just power through, and I will talk to you guys when I do that, and that will probably be the end of the video. I have a few books to show you that I was able to pick up this week, if you care to see them, and so I will see you guys back in my office to wrap up our week in reading. Hello, you guys. It is time for the end of the video. I have finished You Truly Assume by Layla Sabrine, and when it was all said and done, I thought this book was really cute. I had some issues with the plotting and the pacing, and there were some things that I kind of think made this book drag, but I think altogether this author was trying to tell a very specific story, and I think she did a well enough job doing that. And I think this book is another book that would be great in a library for high school kids, middle school kids. Books like this are really important. It makes me feel really good that Black contemporary fiction like this is able to exist. I thought the last part of this book was better than the first part of this book. Once we got into the story, I was able to really get my footing and really enjoy this. So yeah. By the way, my tongue is blue because I was eating some cookie cake that had some frosting on it, so that's why my tongue is blue. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give this book 3 out of 5 stars, maybe 3.25 stars with this one. And then we read The Davenports. I just felt like this book could have been more fun for what it was. It was fine. I never wanted to put it down. I always wanted to see this book to completion, but it didn't make me want to read more books in this series. I didn't need to hear more from these characters. I probably will not be finishing this series. Actually, I'm gonna go fully ahead and say I'm not going to finish this series because I don't even want it looming. I'm not going to finish this series, so it didn't do that. I think out of all the books, this is the book I probably enjoyed the least, and it's because I think it's the book that had the most potential to be something that I enjoyed, and it was just a little bit like a downer. It was kind of a downer, kind of sad, but I do think other people could find this book more interesting. It wasn't what I was looking for in this moment, but I think other people could pick this up and find this to be something different. I will say there aren't a lot of books like this in the bookstore, getting published. So if you're looking for this type of book and you like what I said about it in the section of the video, I would say go ahead and get it, but I'm going to give this book 3 out of 5 stars. The next book we have is a different type of book. We Weren't Looking to Be Found by Stephanie Kuhn. This book is, I think, really ambitious, and it's tackling on really sensitive subjects. This is why when I read The Wedding People, I had a very low tolerance for the way that suicide was treated in that book. I didn't take the suicide in The Wedding People seriously because I don't think it was written seriously, and I'm going to engage you in the way that you try to engage me. And so I thought the suicide topic in The Wedding People was stupid, so I engaged it like it was stupid. But then you read a book like this where they're talking about self-harm and they're talking about suicide and all that stuff, and it's handled with so much care and so much consideration, and the author's actually trying to do something interesting, and the author cares about its characters, and I think this book is just done really, really well. It's about 2 Black girls really trying to come into their identity at the end of their teen years, and I think this is another book that would be great in a library. Good book for middle schoolers, good book for high schoolers. I do think I have aged out of this book having a huge effect on me, but I think anybody between those age ranges, the young adult range that, people are trying to read young adult books, I think they would really enjoy this book. I'm going to give this book 3.75 out of 5 stars. The last book we read, and the reason why I am happy that I did this video, is I read The Banned Bookshop of Maggie Banks by Shauna Robinson, and I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I thought this book was so well done. I thought, it's been a while since I've just read basic women's fiction and really, really enjoyed it, but this showed me that maybe I shouldn't give up on women's fiction altogether. Maybe I should lean back into Black women's fiction, because this was just so well paced, so well plotted. The conflict was earned, the romance was earned. I just thought it had interesting things to say also about Black authors and Black bookstores and what it book buying and all this stuff. I just thought this book was really good. If you want to read a book about saving a bookstore, I know a lot of book readers like to read books about books or about bookstores. I think this should be high on your list. So much so, now we can get into the books that I bought segment. I bought another book by this author. So you can tell I really love this book because I read this book at the beginning of the week. By the end of the week, I had another book by this author at my door, and it's called Must Love Books. And yeah, I'm going to read this as well. I can't wait to have both of these sitting on my bookshelf because this was a surprising winner for me. I also went out of town, and when I was out of town, I went to Barnes & Noble and picked up 2 books. The first book I picked up is a book I did not know existed. It is the debut novel by Ben Felipe, The Field Guide to the North American Teenager. This is the author that wrote Charming as a Verb. I would go get Charming as a Verb, but it's way back there. Charming as a Verb is one of my favorite young adult books of all time, and this was Ben Felipe's debut. And for some reason, I never looked into seeing what other books Ben Felipe had published. But yeah, this seems right up my alley. I cannot wait to read it. So yeah, I got my hands on that because I saw it at the bookstore. And then we have a new release. Kenya is trying to stay up to date on her new release. I feel like this book, of like all the new releases, like I feel like it's the most talked about new release of the year so far. I feel like this has taken up Q1, and that is Death of the Author by Nita Okafor. Nita Okafor. I have not read any books by Nita Okafor before. I know she has some popular ones, or maybe a popular one but I have not read any of her books. This is Blur by George R.R. Martin, who wrote the Song of Ice and Fire series, the Game of Thrones series. And yeah, this book is so beautiful. And you know what? I think it's going to be up my alley. I think I'm going to enjoy it. I can't make any promises to get to it by the end of this year, but maybe I will. I will try my best because you guys know I am now in this era of reading where if I buy a book in a year, I want to read it in the same year that I buy it. I just don't want books staying on my bookshelf, so I would try to get to this book within the year. But that's the end of this one. This was some Black contemporary fiction for us to read during Black History Month, and I think you should check out all of these authors. They all have something I think that you would like, and I will talk to you guys in the next one.